I've always found remakes of movies to be an interesting proposition. Now, many people would say, why do a remake? What's the point? You have the original. If you loved it, just watch the original. I get that feeling, but you know, there are other avenues to explore in movies. A great example of what I feel is a great remake is Disturbia. If you've ever seen the movie Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf, it is basically a remake of the movie Rear Window. I shouldn't even say basically, it is. It's a remake of Rear Window, but instead of it being, you know, a guy who's got a cast on and can't leave his house and is using his camera to spy on his neighbors, it's a kid who got in trouble and has an anklet bracelet and spends his time spying on his neighbors. But the results are very, very similar in the two movies. That is a worthwhile remake because it takes the story that you loved of the original and puts a new spin on it, puts a new world into it, modernizes a little bit, puts different characters in those roles. Instead of a man, it's a teenager, that kind of thing. And it works well. Both movies I love, and both movies I would enjoy watching again. Not the case with Footloose. Footloose is the original Footloose. Now, complete honesty, I've actually never seen the original Footloose, but I can talk with confidence about it because my wife has, and she watched the new one with me, and I trust her, which is a good thing to do with a spouse, to trust them. I trust her view on this, and she says it's basically the same movie. In fact, I don't think she said basically. She said it is the same movie, and I saw that when I watched it. How did I see that without having ever seen the original? Because it felt like an 80s movie. It felt like, even though they were trying to say this was in modern times, that these teenagers weren't modern teenagers. They didn't feel like modern teenagers. They felt like teenagers from the 1980s, when the original was. Is this a good thing? I don't think so. But if you loved the original, maybe you want to see it with just different faces on the actors. Because that's basically all this is, according to my wife. So, what did I feel since it's the first time I've actually ever seen the story of Footloose? I don't know. It was fun. A lot of it was enjoyable. The dancing is fun. The songs they use are definitely fun. The actors did a really good job of portraying those characters. Some very funny side characters. The friend, Willard, I think is the friend's name. Very funny. Really enjoyed that. And I have to say, if I'm just judging it on those things, yeah, it's a fun movie. Is it deserving of a remake? I don't know. Maybe you should just go watch the original if it's fun. What didn't I like about it? Well, I mentioned it's a little confusing because it feels like the 80s even though it's supposed to be modern times. So it just felt a little off. And that includes the way that these teenagers were shown going out and drinking, and it wasn't even mentioned, the fact that these are high schoolers and they all just grab beers whenever they want them, and that didn't feel like a very modern way to portray that. Even just taking out my own personal convictions on that, it just didn't feel right. It felt weird. In a modern situation, there would be some adult somewhere that would say something about that, or there would be somebody who would check an ID or something, but it never happened, was never mentioned. So that felt a little weird, and I just think at the end of the movie, maybe I was smiling because it was fun, but it was just a little hard for me to fully grasp because of that difference. I think earlier this year, Super 8 is a good example of a movie that took nostalgia, because that was basically an old Spielberg movie made in modern times, but it set it in that era. See, that's the thing. Because it was set in that area, I felt like it was more believable. In this movie, when a confetti cannon goes off and all of a sudden it must have been magic confetti, because all of a sudden these kids who just minutes ago were lining the wall saying they couldn't dance because there had been a ban on dancing and they don't know how, just minutes ago they were there, and then all of a sudden the confetti cannon goes off and this magic confetti turns them into the cast so you think you can dance. I mean, it's that kind of stuff just takes me out of the movie a little bit and I can't enjoy it. So, I guess, if you enjoyed the original Footloose, you'll enjoy the remake. If you didn't, then you won't. Because from what I hear, they're the same movie.